Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. This is the preview. This is the big one, as Jay Motti would say. Manchester United versus Fulham. And I'm joined not by Jay Motti, but by Scotty from Scotty and Motti. Nice to see you. How are you?
Yeah, nice to see you again. I'm very excited. Champions League, Eric Ten Hag.
Yes, we're back in the Champions League, regardless of what happens in this game. Weirdly, we're going to the last game of the season with sort of, I wouldn't say nothing to play for, because we'll get on to what we do have to play for, but it's a strange sense of calm, isn't it? We're secure. Top four is done. No worries for Ten Hag and Man United.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time we actually went into a game and there was nothing riding on it. Do you know what I mean? It was always, we need to win this because we need to catch Newcastle, or we need to stay away from Liverpool, or it's a cup game and we don't want to get knocked out. And every single game just felt like a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
And now all that's gone. So it should be a nice, easy game today. And I'm looking forward to it. And it should give me the opportunity for some of the other players on the fringe who are trying to get into, the FA Cup final.
Well, I want to talk about that because we'll get to our teams in a little bit. But in terms of rotation, what do you think is going through Ten Hag's mind? Because there's a mixture here of keeping players fresh, keeping players on the boil. You don't want people sort of dipping out.
Yeah.
And also, you giving people a rest. Bruno could do with a rest, I think. I mean, we'll see our teams, like I said, but, Casemiro, I think Varane can always do with a rest whenever there's one available. What's the balance here? If you're Ten Hag, are you just going, play the kids, keep them all in cotton wool, or are you trying to sort of keep people on the boil?
I imagine it depends on the fitness levels, and you take as a case-by-case scenario. Yeah. You were talking there like the likes of Bruno, who's just played every single game near enough, hasn't he, this season? Yeah. Rashford, who came on and scored the other night, but now it's like, do you rest him and put him a little bit in cotton wool, because he always seems a little bit fragile, doesn't he, Rashford? Varane, again, very similar. But there's players like Sancho who have been playing a lot more recently, but they seem to be finding good form. They can only benefit from getting a better game, because Fulham aren't going to come to this match and want anything out of it. For them, it's exactly the same sort of situation where it's rotation and maybe giving players the experience and run out, looking forward to next season. And we've got like a week ahead. And I think it's a good opportunity for players that are on the outskirts of the starting 11 to sort of say, all right, Ten Hag, if you do need someone to come in on Saturday, then, remember me.
Well, I want to talk about that next as well, because you mentioned there about Fulham not having a lot to play for. Chelsea didn't have much to play for, but they got a little bit niggly, a little bit pissed off. Yeah. Whereas Fulham, I think they're happy with their season. I think they will come to Old Trafford thinking, even if we lose, we've had a good year here. I don't see the same potential for players fighting and scrapping and leaving a lazy leg in that's going to get someone hurt, as we saw against Chelsea. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of frustrations that from Chelsea, and I think it's just the matter of the decline of their season, really. Yeah. I think all the players there on massive wages came for massive fees, massive egos, and we're expecting, to reap the rewards of having a team that's built like that, but it didn't happen, and they were niggling out and kicking players, and this is when you get players injured. My concern is, though, do you remember the last time we played Fulham?
I don't know if I do,
And didn't they have that, didn't they have two men sent off?
I do, of course they do.
So now, three.
They had two men and their manager sent off.
So now, okay, it might be like a nice kickabout in the park on a Sunday. It could also be, all right, well, I remember what you did to us last time, and then they might get a little bit moody about it. And we knocked them out of the cup as well. So
Point
that could
to prove, maybe.
So there could be that, and that's always the risk, isn't it, when you're playing a game just before the big FA Cup final? Yeah,
and I feel like every time you play anyone at Old Trafford, they are slightly more up for it than they would be at, let's say, the Vitality. You know you're going to get the best version of any team because it's Man United and it's at Old Trafford. Moving on then, it's sort of a subsection of rotation, but I don't think Ten Hag's team is set, and I especially think with the potential injury to Anthony, I think that's an area, and I want to talk about that there could be some movement in. I think the right back situation is Wan-Bissaka seems to have pushed ahead, but if Dalot started against City, it wouldn't shock me. Do you think there are some players, specifically Sancho, Dalot, coming into this game thinking, if I have a good game against Fulham, that might put me up the pecking order, maybe even Weghorst, because we saw him trust him in the cup final against Newcastle.
Yeah.
Is there a chance that this is an audition for certain players? Those three in particular: Weghorst, Garnacho, and Dalot.
Not so much Weghorst, I don't think. I just think if everyone's fit, I don't think he's getting anywhere near the starting 11. But Dalot maybe. It might not be that if he starts But if there's an injury or whatever, moving on towards the end of the week, towards the Saturday, if Wan-Bissaka's injured, so you don't know there. Garnacho, I think if Anthony's injured, Sancho moves over to the right and Garnacho starts, and I absolutely love that kid, and I think he could be quite terrifying and be a handful for City to deal with. Yeah. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But I mean, Sancho had one of his best games. He really, really did tonight. Yeah. And then so I just think him down the right, it looks like a decent option, but. I just want to get through the 90 minutes against Fulham and not have one injury. Yeah, that's.
So would you start Rashford up front then?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and it's mad, isn't it? Because I know Martial scored the other day, but I just don't. I don't feel it. I don't think he's bringing a lot. There's some of the touches and like the ball's coming across. There's one moment where you just think, are you a striker? Where the ball gets played across him, he's got two men close him down from the right hand side, no one on his left. And instead of letting the ball come across his body to his left foot, taking these two out of the game, he takes a touch with the outside of his right foot, knocking it straight back into the path of the two defenders. And I just thought, that's such, like, I mean, I say obvious sat here from a studio, but at the top level, you see top level players do things like that over and over and over again. The top strikers, you take the ball away from the defenders, give yourself a free shot, near post or whip it to the back post and it's a goal. And he just did the wrong thing, and he does the wrong thing too often to me. And when Rashford's scoring 30, to me, I agree with you. I would start him up front.
Yeah, I just can't see why any reason for Martial. It feels like you're carrying him for a lot of the time. Yeah. And if you look at the goals he's scored of recently, like he's got on the goals on the score sheet, they've not been worldies, and he's been in the right position. But still within that game, you've seen him falling on his arse 10,000 times. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I just feel like there's a lot of liability, and whilst I'm not saying Weghorst is as good a player as him, at least when Weghorst on the pitch, there's some sort of energy and running around to do something. I'd rather someone who is productive on there. But yeah, for me, if Anthony is injured, it's Garnacho, Rashford and Sancho.
Yeah. Let's sort of have a look at our predicted 11s now then. We've talked a lot about these players who most of them we don't think will be playing. I genuinely think, I'll let you go first, but I think he's going to go mega rotated for this. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree with you, yeah.
What have you gone for?
Okay, so I've gone for Heaton in net.
Yeah. As soon as you say Tom Heaton, I know the rest of this team is not going to be full of superstars because I ain't even rotated him. I'll let you in for a secret. I've still got De Gea. So if you're going Heaton, I'm expecting to see some players that aren't even at the club anymore. Alexander Butler's going to get an appearance in your squad if we're not
William Prunier's making a comeback. Yeah. So Delo, Maguire. Yeah. And for some reason my spell check's gone malaria. Obviously Malacia.
Yeah.
And then I think, I don't know if he's fit, Phil Jones.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
You know, I know he's had his critics over the years and stuff, but he's still a Manchester United player, and he leaves Old Trafford with a Premier League medal. So it'd be nice to sort of, even if it's like 10 minutes towards the end, but I'd love to see him start. Fred and McTominay. I like Sancho. I like to see some Zidane, well, I'm not seeing him as much as I thought I would have done this season of him. Big Wout and Elanga, because I don't think Elanga or Wout will be there next season. So I think might be some of them say goodbye.
Yeah, I think it's quite similar teams. I think make some good points. I've gone with De Gea just because I think he just plays every game, doesn't he? Maybe not though. Maybe we will see complete rotation. Same back four, similar back four. I've gone with Dalot, Maguire, but I've put Lindelof in. I don't think Jones is fit. I don't know if maybe it'd be nice to just give him like 10 seconds. It
doesn't matter. Yeah, just bring him on and then just take him off.
Yeah, exactly. You're allowed to do that. Then Malacia on the left-hand side, one of the players again who's, I don't think he's going to get in ahead of Luke Shaw, but if we see some rotation centre-back wise, maybe he could be in for a start against City. Then a midfield three. I've gone with Bruno because he just plays every week. I think he'll come off. I think he'll probably only play 60. But I've gone with that sort of 20-20 midfield. Bruno, McTominay and Fred. And a front three, like we said before, giving Garnacho a chance to sort of prove himself. I've gone with Garnacho on the left, Pellistri on the right, and Weghorst down the middle. Similar teams. I don't expect to see many more starters than that. We might see what City did against Chelsea, where they brought on, I think, De Bruyne and Diaz and Walker, and Walker maybe started, but they brought on basically a handful of their top players for the last 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Just keep the engine ticking over, but let's not risk any injuries here. So very rotated teams. Right then, moving on to Fulham, a team that's, I would say, overachieved this season, finishing 10th. They can't change that, whether they win, lose or draw against United. a mixed bag in recent results, as you can see on the screen there. A good team, and one that's come up and done a lot better than a lot of people thought they would.
Yeah, I don't think people expected them to stay up, or any of the newly promoted teams. I think. No. Am I right in saying Fulham are the best out of the
yeah?
promoted?
Well, the other ones, it's Forest and who is the other newly promoted team? I can't even remember now. Bournemouth, who obviously have, I think, 14th. So yeah, Fulham have done the best. So there's been a bit of surprise package in that sense. But they're a sizable club. I know the ground's only small, but they've got a decent fan base at Fulham. I just can't imagine it being. I say this after watching the Chelsea game the other night, and I wasn't expecting much out of that. But the second half, if it's an open game, people are going down to watch it, so you'd open to do something decent. But what you're looking for, an overall review of Fulham season? Average. Yeah. Mitrovic, 23 goals from this season. I think he's the one to watch, isn't he? But last day of the season, nothing to play for. Everything goes out the window. So with that in mind, with everything in mind, Fulham doing well, but not being the biggest threat in the world. United, players to rest, points to prove. Big game coming up the week after. Give me a score prediction for this. I think it'll be Manchester United 2, Fulham 1, and I'd like United to go into the FA Cup final off the back of a win. That'd be nice. I think we will look really tricky. I think we're going to struggle to get anything going because it's so many players who aren't used to playing with each other. I'm going to go 1-1, which, you know what? I'll take it. I don't particularly mind. It might be the difference between third and fourth, but if it gets players a rest, gets us ready for the cup final, I'll absolutely take it. Cool. The thing about third and fourth in the league, both end up in the Champions League. Exactly. It doesn't matter. Same with second, unfortunately, Arsenal. Right, that's going to be all from us. Thank you, Scotty, for coming on. Make sure you check out the Scotty and Marty podcast. Also, before we go, if you're watching, film yourself with your score prediction and send it to paddockmatchday@gmail.com. Just get your phone out, get it in landscape, film yourself. What do you think is going to happen? What will the score be? Who's going to score? You know the drill, and we'll play that at the start of the watch along to bring us into that final game of the season. Check out the Scotty and Marty podcast to see more of Scotty with, of course, Jay Motti. He's not here now, but he turns up for that. That's been all. We have been Stretford Paddock. Hit like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you in a bit.